Franchising is a process. Franchisors have a process, so it is really important that we are using a process when we work with clients to assess if they are ready to make an investment, and if they are, what would the right business be for them? So, Britt, as we're kind of walking through this, and I think about our clients, do most people know that they're ready to explore franchises when you talk to them for the first time?
No. When people talk to us for the first time, we're typically their first stop. So they haven't thought about franchising more than going to Chick-fil-A with their family. So that's our job. We just want to tell them what to expect and why a franchise may be a good fit.
So you're meeting them for the first time. What are you typically doing on those introductory calls?
Well, I think with any first call, it's important just to take the time to get to know each other, right?
Yes.
We want to understand, why would they be interested in owning a business? What's their background like? What are the skills that they have that may be transferable to a business? And, I also want to set an agenda on what to expect.
Exactly. I could see that. Now, when you're looking at them during the first call, what are you trying to establish with them? What are you seeking out from them?
The biggest thing that I'm looking for is just understanding what is their personal, compelling reason for business ownership. I'm a big proponent of, when you have a goal to achieve, you're either moving towards something or away from a pain point. And so I just want to help them achieve whatever their goals may be.
Now, fit is so important to us because I don't want to work with somebody week in, week out that's a jerk. I know you don't want to. We have a no jerks policy at FranPath. But how do you know if that person on the other side of the phone is a mutual fit for you?
I think we want people that are going to be open-minded. We want people that are willing to respect and appreciate our process and follow an agenda, because being a franchisee is about having a great process, loving the idea of having support from the franchisor. So I want to see that they can follow the agenda. I want to see that they're engaged. Are they listening? What is their body language like? Those are important things to me.
A video conference really helped us with that, right?
Yes.
I think a lot of times in the beginning of the process, we would be on those calls on the phone, and body language is so telling.
It really is.
Right away. So if it goes well, you decide that the client is a fit for you, you're a fit for a client. Where do you take it from there? What's the next thing that we're going to do?
The next thing that we're going to do is a business interest assessment. Prior to our business interest assessment call, clients are required to fill out a questionnaire. What does this include, and why do we ask for it?
So franchisors require us to get information for them to make sure that our clients are a right fit. What we're looking for really is net worth, total net worth, and then additionally liquid net worth. Also, state of permanent residence is really important, and we have to have that. Different brands have different net worth requirements, and we want to make sure that our clients truly have exactly the financial means to be able to be successful, because we don't want to do anybody a disservice on the front side by placing somebody in the wrong business.
So Sam, what is the goal of the business interest assessment?
The goal of the business interest assessment at the end of the day is to find out what exactly our client wants or thinks they want in a business. And we're going to assess everything from the investment level, the level of the return that they need to make from this business to even make it worth their time, the type of employees that are going to work in this business. People oftentimes don't think about that. I always think back to this client I had, and he was a litigator, one of the top litigators in the state of Wisconsin. And he said, I was convinced that there was nothing for me that would be worse than working with 40 litigators. Fast forward to he bought a super, super expensive and successful fast food franchise. And he said, it's worse than working with 40 litigators?
High school kids.
Exactly. 40 high school kids. And so a lot of times people think they know what they want or something looks more glamorous, but we really want to see the other side of it. What exactly is it like day to day? What is their skill set? How is that going to work for them? I think of Jamie on our team, and you helped Jamie with a mental health business. And in a million years, do you think he ever would have thought he would have gotten that business?
It's so important that we establish what they actually are looking for, not what they assume that they're looking for. So why is it important that we cover this?
Because what we want to do is on the front side of our job, we want to strategically be able to set up a business with our clients so that they can achieve the end goal. And the end goal is so different for so many people, right?
Absolutely.
So you have a client that might be thinking, I'm going to hand this business down to my kids. I want to get my kids involved. This is going to be so exciting. It's a legacy business. That's a little bit more rare for us.
Yeah.
Most of our clients are looking at this business and they're saying, I want an asset. I don't want to quit my day job. I want to be able to manage a business with a manager in place. I'm great at leading people. I'm a salesperson. I'm a marketing executive, whatever their background is. But I want to exit this business. And so strategically on the front side, we want to look at everything from scalability, which means we have to understand the availability of the territory when we're going to look for it. We have to understand, is this type of business on the front side? What is that going to look like in 5 years when they're ready to sell? Are there going to be a million of these businesses out there and it's saturated? So we're really positioning them for the why, for the end goal. That's what's so important to us is on the front side, we want to establish all of those things, everything from ROI to saturation points. And we understand that because we've spent so much time in the business. And then we go to work after that. That's where our homework comes. They have to fill that questionnaire out on the front side. But at that point, it's our job. And we're moving in to the next step, which is looking for brands. And that's fun.
That is the fun part. You know, when we talk to people on an initial call, they want me to recommend brands to them right away.
Oh, yeah.
But the reality is, I don't know what to recommend yet until I have the opportunity to have the business interest assessment with them, to have them complete that client questionnaire. So it's so important that we take those steps first.
Because not everybody knows what they want. Yeah. I mean, I think of clients that are telling me all the time, I want fitness, I want health, I want wellness, I want all of these things. Then we get on there and they're like, well, I don't want brick and mortar. And it's like, well, that
can't do it without it.
No. So when we look at this, how do we determine what brands we're going to show clients?
So the first step of it is understanding what is their criteria. Just like you mentioned, for some people that may be, I don't want a brick and mortar. For other people that may be, I really want that build out, or I want a small team, or I love motivating a big team, or I want to be able to impact kids, right? So we're trying to understand, what are the criteria, not just the industry, but what are the criteria that people are looking for? So that's the first thing that I do. We spend so much time researching and vetting brands. Yes. So I want to look at the brands in our portfolio to say what meets their criteria.
And there's so many brands. We have over 700 brands. And I think people are constantly asking, I want to see it all. Do you have a catalog?
Right.
No, this isn't like JCPenney circa 1997. We don't have a catalog, John. But we do have a lot of options. It's our job on the front side to do that. So when you're going in there, how do you figure out how many options to present to clients?
So my typical style is 5 options. You and I have been in this business for a decade now.
Yeah.
And what we've realized is if you give people too many things, they get overwhelmed.
Yes.
But I'm a big believer that you can't just test drive one car, tour one home, right? You have to be able to test drive multiple things. So we present 5 options on average, I would say.
Yeah.
And then we have them whittle it down to 3 to start.
Yeah. Otherwise, you feel like you're getting your franchise MBA.
Yeah.
People always want the most amount of options possible, but I think when it really comes down to it, when we narrow the field for them and then they get to look at 3, that's enough to compare and contrast. It's enough to understand, but it's not so much that you're going to feel overwhelmed. Now, after the presentation, what happens? What do you do after the presentation? What does the client do?
So I have them pick their top 3 brands. right? That's a great starting point. So I have them pick the top 3 brands to begin the exploration process. So at that point, I'll send their information over to the brands to get them introduced and have them schedule calls. I want them to get those initial calls set up. They're going to hear high level from us, but at the end of the day, they need to hear directly from those brands.
So as they're looking at brands, how are they choosing what brand to go with? Because there's so many things on the market right now. How are they picking those brands?
Well, the first thing that I want to point out, it's a mutual evaluation process, right? That's the biggest thing that I tell people is franchisors aren't there to just get you to buy their concept. You have to sell yourself to the franchisor too. It is a 10-year franchise agreement, typically, sometimes 15 years, but it lasts longer than a lot of marriages in the US. So you have to be ready to be committed to that franchisor. So we tee it up on the front end. It's a mutual evaluation process. You need to go in there with your A game, be engaged, make good eye contact, ask good questions. You have to go in there with your A game. Stroking a check isn't enough. People think if I have a level of net worth, if I have this certain background, then that's enough, but it's not enough. We have to do more than that.
No, and I completely agree with you on that one. And that's part of what we do when we're doing touch points. And it's so important, probably the most important part of our process isn't which brands we choose and how, and all of those things on the front side. It's great, we get to know people, but so much of our value comes after we've introduced brands and really getting the opportunity to work with clients after that. And so the discovery process, if you're in the industry, is what we call that.
Yeah, it is. We call it the discovery process. We call it a mutual evaluation process. But throughout that process, we try to communicate with them. So how often are we doing that? How often are we touching base?
I think it's pretty darn important to touch base for 30 minutes at least once a week. Now, that varies, right? There are times where we have a client who is needing us more. You're getting towards the end of the process. You have funding issues. You have stuff going on. We'll talk a lot more. I mean, I'm sure my phone is sitting off screen over here. I'm sure I've got some text messages. I have some candidates at Discovery Days, which is end of process right now. And it's just really important that we stay in touch so we can navigate all of the things that come up.
So you mentioned that we're staying in touch with them, but tell us more. What is our role? Right? We're not just introducing the brands on the front end. So once we introduce the brands, what's our role to the client?
Truly, I think we want to make sure they have enough information for the stage of the process they're in. That's huge because everything should be in bite-sized pieces. They're getting a lot of stuff. There's a lot of new things coming at them. Typically, it's not an industry that they've been in. It's not an industry that they're exploring, is not their area of expertise. So really making sure that they're moving through things at a good clip, but they're also understanding what's in front of them. And then the other thing that we need to do is discern fear from reality because it can get in the way of a lot of things. Fear is huge. Fear is a great motivator, but it can also be something that really can be a stumbling block for clients. And then the other thing is, what is their why? Keeping that why at the center of every single thing that they're doing and going back to it. Is the why a legacy business? Yeah. Is the why an awesome exit for a multiple at the end? What is the why? Is the why I have to get out of this corporate job because I absolutely can't stand my life right now?
Right.
What's the why in coming back?
So what other value do we bring to the table? Right? We introduce the brands on the front end. We stay engaged with them throughout. But what is the value that FranPath Consulting brings?
None. Just kidding. We're experts. It's not our first rodeo. Truly. We've done it. We have written the checks. We've been in that seat. We are franchisees. I mean, there's different things that we've done. We've worked for franchisors. We've kind of been all over. We also have a ton of partners in the business. We know amazing attorneys to review these agreements. We know which brands are integral. We understand funding. We have amazing strategists that work with us in the funding department. Sometimes, I call some of our partners wizards because of the things that they're really able to pull off. So it's so much more than just, hey, how are you? Oh, how do you feel? And having the right brands in front of you. It's figuring out the right teams of people and all of the things that we do on the front side to curate those brands. But so much is helping you on the back side deciding if it's right for you.
And we love what we do. We're so excited to work with our clients, continue that discovery process. And so as you work through the process with us, reach out ahead of our next step, ask any questions at all. That's what we're here for. We're here to support our clients throughout the discovery process.